Hello boys, do you remember what we had studied in the last class or the first chapter that we did in Indian history of class 12 that was talking about Kisan Sabha, that talked about the trade union movement, the spread of socialism, the ideals of socialism, and finally the rise of communalism in India and the two nation theory projected by Muhammad Ali Jinnah and dividing the people on communal lines. So that was the chapter that we talked about in the previous class, and in fact we had covered the entire chapter, and I had sent a PDF of the questionnaire along with the chapter, so it would be nice if you could solve those questions that are there related to the topics that we did in the chapter and write that in your notebook so that you have some ready matter for your board exams. Now we come to the next section of the syllabus, that is section B, where we have the chapters on world history, and the first chapter that we have in the book is World War II. Now in this World War II chapter we will be doing the factors that led to the war and the aggressive policies of both the two dictators, that is Mussolini and Hitler. In the present board exam that we had, and it's still not completed, we had a question from aggressive policies of Mussolini and the policy of appeasement. You have done fascism, you have done Nazism in class 10, but you have not done the aggressive policies of these two leaders in detail. So now we do that in this part of the syllabus, and we start with the first topic, that is the factors leading to the war and the rise of Hitler. He is taken as the first leader in the chapter, how he became a dictator and how he tried to take back all that he lost, that is all the territories that he lost by the Treaty of Versailles. We should remember that, boys, that we had, after the First World War, we had the League of Nations formed. And why was the League of Nations formed? To end wars. That was the main motive, to have peace in the world and to end wars. But you remember, you've done in class 10, there was a question and there was a topic as to why did the League fail. It failed because it could not control the rise of dictatorship in the world. It could not stop wars. The members were selfish, and it is said that US or USA was not a member of the League of Nations. Then in 1925, if you look at in your book on page, the first page of the lesson, that is unit number 7.1, in 1925 the Locarno Pact was signed. A pact signed by Great Britain, France, Belgium, Germany and Italy. And according to this pact, Germany accepted her frontiers permanently as defined by the Treaty of Versailles. She said, okay, I accept those frontiers which are mine as permanent frontiers, which were stated by the Treaty of Versailles. And Germany became a permanent member of the League of Nations. And after the First World War, Germany becomes a republic. That is the Weimar Republic or the Weimar Republic, whichever way you want to pronounce it. Now we have studied that the First World War and the Treaty of Versailles was taken as a curse for Germany. It was taken as a disgrace by the Germans, and they blamed the Weimar Republic for signing such a disgraceful treaty. Weimar Republic, after it was formed, faced various problems which we did in class 11, and she became weak, and finally the republic collapsed. Hitler formed a new party now, which was known as National Socialist or the Nazi Party. This was the new party that Hitler formed, and he became slowly very, very popular. Why? Because he was talking against the Treaty of Versailles, he talked against the Weimar Republic, he asked the people to denounce the Treaty of Versailles. And then in 1932, when again the elections were held, his party got 230 seats and he was appointed as the Chancellor of Germany, and Hindenburg was the president of the coalition government that was formed in Germany. But in 1934, Hindenburg dies, and then Hitler takes over both the posts, that is of Chancellor as well as of the president, and he becomes the dictator of Germany. Now, once he becomes the dictator of Germany, what was his aim? To make Germany a great power. That is what he believed in. Nazism also believed in that, to follow an aggressive policy and to get back the lost glory of Germany, to restore the power of Germany. And how to get that? To follow an aggressive policy. Now, the first step that he took towards this, or the first step in his aggressive policy, was that he said that he had no faith in the ideals of the League of Nations. And he started arming Germany. He started building up weapons. And he felt that if he was a member of the League of Nations, his membership would prove to be an obstacle to his aggressive policies. So, he boycotted the disarmament conference of 1932. He was the first leader to boycott this world disarmament conference in 1932. The 62 states, including Germany, Japan, withdrew from this League of Nations, and finally Germany withdrew from the conference and from the League of Nations in 1933. So I will repeat that. In fact, a little bit it is upside down, that there was a conference of disarmament held in 1932. There were many nations in that, 61 states were there, even Germany was there, but finally Germany withdrew from that conference, boycotted it, and also withdrew its membership from the League of Nations. Why? Because France was not agreeing to have equality of arms with Germany. Germany felt that there should be some equality in the building up of weapons by France as well as Germany, but it was not felt that way by Germany. France was not letting that thing happen, and so Germany withdrew itself from the League of Nations as well as from this conference of disarmament. And he started ignoring the clauses of the Treaty of Versailles, which had restrained Germany from building up her armed strength. Or you can say that what all we have done in the Treaty of Versailles, that this had to be reduced, no tanks, no submarines, this many soldiers, and no building up of aircraft, whatever it is. So that was reduced by the Treaty of Versailles. And so Hitler insisted that the Germany would disarm only if other countries did it. That was his condition, that if the other countries disarm, he is willing to disarm. His favorite technique was to act boldly and to soothe his opponents. One side he started acting boldly by building up weapons, making his army strong, and the other side he said, okay, if you do it, I do it. So one side he was soothing, the other side he was acting boldly by disobeying the clauses of the Treaty of Versailles. The next step that he took was that he signed a 10-year non-aggression pact with the Poles, that is with Poland, in 1934. Now, Poles were alarmed in case the Germans tried to take back the Polish corridor, that would be a triumph for Hitler, a victory for Hitler. And this made Poland, now when they signed the 10-year non-aggression pact, Poland became a buffer state between France, between Russia and Germany. Not between France, between Russia and Germany. And Poland was now, through this pact, became less dependent on France for security. This was a very meaningful pact signed by Hitler, so that Poland is not depending on France. The real purpose of Hitler was to weaken the defense measures of France by separating Poland from France. You know that by the Treaty of Versailles, France had gained a lot, the Saar Valley, coal mines, etc. So he was deadly against France, and this is the way he tried to stop the influence of France over Poland and weaken the defense measures of France by separating Poland from France. In the coming year, it was very clear that Hitler had no desire to guarantee the frontiers of Poland. It was very much felt now that there was no surety whether the frontiers of Poland will be safe or not, and Hitler was not giving any assurance for their safety. France's little Entente, she had her own group that was ruined as it was dependent on Poland. But when Poland signs a non-aggression pact with Hitler, that little group, that little Entente that was formed by France became weak, and it guaranteed Polish neutrality whenever Germany tried to move against Austria and Czechoslovakia. So Poland was trying to be a wall, a neutral place or a neutral country for Germany. Why? Because whenever Hitler tried to move towards or against Austria, against Czechoslovakia, she would be neutral. She would not react to the movement. And this led, the other side, it led to the improvement of relations between France and Russia. So this is the way the things were moving. Hitler was pleasing one country, trying to make friends with one country so that it helps it when it acts against certain countries. And the other side, it also improved certain relations between the other countries, especially France and Russia. Now comes the Saar Valley. We know that Saar Valley was handed over to France for 15 years, and France was exploiting the resources of this valley according to the Treaty of Versailles. Now it was said that in January 1935 there would be plebiscite held in Saar Valley to decide whether the future of what would be the future of Saar, because the Nazis were already interfering in this region and were creating or were carrying on a propaganda in favor of Germany. So the people were asked to show their opinion, voting and deciding to whom would this valley be handed over. Now the plebiscite was held, the results came out, and 90% voted in favor of reunion with Germany. So the Saar Valley plebiscite decided the future of Saar, and 90% of the people living in Saar were in favor of joining Germany. Showing the importance of Nazi propaganda, that now you could feel that Hitler's propaganda of Nazism was gaining strength day by day. And it showed also the importance of his propaganda, how much it was it influenced the people of Saar so that they voted in favor of the reunion of Saar Valley with Germany. And now Hitler announced that all causes of grievances between France and Germany had been removed. Once he got back the Saar Valley, he said, now we do not have any grievances with France. Now, the next step that he took was the breach of the Treaty of Versailles when Hitler announced the reintroduction of conscription. Boys, this point is not mentioned in your book, so I will repeat it. Please note down in your notebooks. Hitler's first breach of Treaty of Versailles was when he announced the reintroduction of conscription. Now, what is the meaning of conscription? It means compulsory enrollment of persons for military or naval force or naval service. That was the compulsory enrollment for military and naval service. This was or you can say another side of it was a compulsory draft of money to a government during a time of war. But that is not coming, so it's not taken as so important. But the first meaning is that there was enrollment of people for military as well as naval service. And the excuse that Hitler gave was that because Britain had increased her air force and France extended the conscription from 12 to 18 months, so he is announcing this, that he would also build up his peacetime army to 36 divisions, that's about 6 lakh men, 6 times more than what was stated by the Treaty of Versailles. 6 times more. Hitler said, Britain has increased her air force, France is increasing her conscription from 12 to 18 months, so why not me? I am also increasing. And he increases 36 divisions to 36 divisions of around 6 lakh men, which was about 6 times more as stated in the Treaty of Versailles. Then the Stresa Front, you please mark that or write it, the Stresa Front, which had Britain, France and Italy. This was another front which condemned this reintroduction of conscription by Hitler. They condemned it, they tried to talk about it to the League of Nations, put up their problems in front of the League of Nations, but the League of Nations was helpless. She could not do anything, and then the front collapsed. So the Stresa Front collapsed as a result of Hitler's next success. Hitler also realized that the Stresa Front was a very frail, was a very weak front, and he detached Britain from that front. He said, you come over this side because we promised that we will reduce the German Navy to 35% of the strength of the British Army. That was a promise given by Hitler to Britain, so that Britain withdraws itself from this Stresa Front. Then we have that Britain accepted this, and there was a signing of an Anglo-German naval agreement. Because of the withdrawal of Britain from the Stresa Front, Britain signs a pact with Germany, and the pact was Anglo-German Naval Agreement in June 1935, where she condoned German rearmament. She was not so much opposing towards the German rearmament, the building up of army, without consulting her two allies. She condoned. Britain was not objecting to German rearmament, and she did not even consult the two allies of the Stresa Front as to why that she is condoning Germany's rearmament project. 5,000 aircraft, 47 U-boats, 51 divisions of army, 21 large naval vessels, that is the battleships, were built up by Germany. Then we also have the German intervention in the Spanish Civil War, which is there, where there was communism. Spain had a republic government which was moving towards communism, and Franco, the General Franco, had started a revolt against the communists in the country. So there was a civil war between the pro-communist republic government and the pro-fascist Franco's army. So there was a civil war, means a war inside the country between the two groups, one which favored communism and one which did not favor communism, and that was General Franco's army. So the socialists and the communists gave their support for the republican government, and Hitler and Mussolini took up the cause of Franco. They supported Franco. Ultimately, the struggle ended in victory for Franco because of Mussolini and Hitler helping him against the communists, because Hitler and Mussolini both hated communism and they did not want that communism should at any cost spread in Europe, and so they helped General Franco, and General Franco was finally successful in this mission. So this Spanish Civil War was in fact acted as a curtain, a dress rehearsal for a greater drama to be played later on. This was sort of a dress rehearsal for both the dictators for a bigger drama to be played later on a bigger stage. This incident brought Germany and Italy closer to each other. Then we have the next step of Hitler was to send troops into the demilitarized zone of Rhineland. You know, remember Treaty of Versailles, Rhineland was demilitarized, and so Hitler now sends troops to this area. This was taken as a breach of both the Treaty of Versailles as well as the Locarno Treaty. Troops had orders to withdraw at the first sign of French opposition. The troops of Germany were asked to withdraw the minute they saw that there was resistance by the French troops. But there was no resistance, and Hitler was now aware of pacifism among his opponents. He felt that now they are not so much interested in a virtual confrontation. So he soothed them by offering a peace treaty to last for 25 years. Then comes the Rome-Berlin-Tokyo axis. You know that in 1936, Hitler signed a pact with Japan known as Anti-Comintern Pact against Russian communism. Later on, Italy joined it and it turned into Rome-Berlin-Tokyo axis. This became a new balance of power against Britain, France and Russia. So now we see that the world again is divided into two groups, or you can say Europe in fact is divided into two groups. One was the Rome-Berlin-Tokyo axis and the other one was the group of France, Great Britain and Russia. So boys, I hope till here you could understand the various steps taken by Hitler in his aggressive policy and how he tried to disobey the Treaty of Versailles and the Locarno Treaty and create a group which could play a bigger role in the later years to come. So for the time being, please revise these steps that were taken by Hitler in his aggressive policies, and please note down the reintroduction of the conscription which was introduced by Hitler and which is not in your books. So wish you all the best for the time being. Take care of yourselves, stay home and Stay safe. The PDF will be following after this class very soon. So God bless you, children.